Today I want to give the controversial opinion that Mohnish Pabrai, the famous investor's cloning investment strategy business formula, is not complete and not going to get you to the home run on its own. Now, if you're not familiar with Mohnish Pabrai, he's a very successful, widely followed investor that's up and coming and has achieved significant returns in his investments in the last 2 decades. One of his key philosophies, which he's practiced for 30 years, is looking for businesses that clone. Cloning as in they see another successful business in that industry and they copy the key elements of that success into their own business. Now, I'm going to go a bit deeper because you're probably guessing I'll just say, oh, look at all the successful Chinese companies that cloned well, but they're usually nothing more than mere copycats and not as good as the Apples of the world because they're just copying other successful American businesses, and that's why cloning is not great. While that is true, I want to go a bit deeper in more interesting ways. Now, first off, I'm a huge fan of cloning. I think it's very useful and very impactful, but I don't think it's the big picture. And we'll use one example that Mohnish loves to use, which is Sam Walton. Now, Sam, I very much admire him, and he built one of the most wealthy brands of all time that's generated more money for his family than possibly any other family. Maybe the Rockefellers, or could be. But Sam Walton built Walmart from one store to this empire, and he did it largely because of cloning. He copied every tiny little detail that Kmart and Target were doing better, and he copied it. He made it better. He made it his own, and that's how he just built and grew and borrowed and built this empire of Walmart. And so you might be like, okay, cloning clearly works. Well, it's one factor out of many in the equation because that's not all he did. Now think about it. Think about how Walmart succeeded. Sam also innovated a lot. He didn't just clone like a lot of the Chinese companies did. He also innovated a lot. And the best companies are cloners and innovators, I think. You might be like, oh, well, Mohnish talks about Microsoft a lot, and Microsoft's essentially just a cloner. Now, is that actually true? To a large degree, yes. But think about what Sam did. Sam was one of the first, and he got like a huge head start because of it, years head start. He was the only person to consider buying a one-person plane, flying over the countryside, seeing geographically, top down, where the best places, the places stores were based off population density. No one was even considering that, and this was back when planes were kind of a new thing. So in that sense, he was very much an innovator. He was also one of the first to pioneer and add other things to the store like satellite communication. And even on a small scale, when he was like only a few stores in, he was doing all this interesting marketing stuff, putting out popcorn to draw people in the store. So there's more to it than that. When you look at other businesses like Tencent, they're not just, standard Chinese copycat clones. I mean, yes, Honor of Kings cloned League of Legends, and it got very popular. But it's a crappy version, really. And League of Legends, much better graphics, and Tencent owns both of those games, but they started innovating. They started really pushing the boundary, buying new businesses that were in the video game space that were very much like on the cutting edge, very innovative, very new way of playing games that just took the world by storm, like Fortnite, and really took that on, and now they're taking bigger bets in Pokemon Unite. So it's not just about cloning, it's also about innovating and adding to the realm of possibility. Now, when you look at an innovative company like Google, Apple, Pixar, how much of it is really innovation? How much of it is copying your competitors? Because now you got contradictory advice out there. You have tons of business people saying the opposite. Oh, one popular phrase I saw a lot on the internet recently was copying and looking at your competitors is for losers. Now, is that actually true? Look at Jeff Bezos, for example. Bezos, he says, you shouldn't be looking at your competitors. your customers should be most important. Focus on your customers, not your competitors. Now, there on the flip side, you have Sam Walton, who focused intensely on his competitors from the surface level. Now, when you look under the surface, I think both of them, they did a lot of both. They put their customers first and foremost. And to do that, sometimes you need to look at your competitors, sometimes not so much. In Amazon's case, it was a lot more innovation, a lot less looking at competitors. In Sam Walton's case, he looked at a lot of his competitors to put his customers first. So in that sense, I think the grand conclusion is that cloning is very powerful. You have companies like Microsoft, who are very much cloning. But is that simply the key to success? No, I don't think so. Just by cloning alone, you at best become a shell of an existing company doing well. And obviously, you see plenty of those knockoff companies, many originating in China, who don't really do that well. Now, how Microsoft has done it differently, in my opinion, is they add to it, they improve it, and thereby they're not just cloning, they're taking the best parts, making them better, and all of a sudden you end up surpassing the original. I did a very similar thing when I was very young. I became one of the top blog / website for a very popular game called Club Penguin, which was later acquired by Disney. The game, not my blog. And I did that by starting from scratch, observing, learning from the best blogs in that space, doing what they did, and then doing it better. And then slowly over time, I overtook them. And that's what a lot of YouTubers do as well. So, in essence, I think, yes, use cloning. But if you simply use just cloning, you're headed for, I think, good but not great returns.